Hey UC Davis Own It Conference. It's Alanah Phillips with Lincoln Financial Network. I am the Director of Recruiting for the West region. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, how I describe what I do is helping financial advisors break up with their broker dealers. And that's kind of my fun way of talking about helping advisors move to an independent financial services broker dealer where they're able to really build out their business and serve their clients best. So I am on here to talk a little bit about interviewing and some tips and tricks for those of you that are interviewing, especially in this sort of new environment that we're in that's very digital. But there's a number of things that really ring true regardless of when or how or in what setting you are interviewing. So the biggest advice or best advice that I can give you, having been somebody on both sides of the table any number of times, is that interviewing is an interview on either side of the table. So when you go in to interview for a position, you have to change your mindset a little bit about what this interview is. We have a tendency to be very nervous and assume that we have to perform the best. The other person has all the control. But really, when you flip the way you think about that control, you're there to interview them as well and see if this is even a firm that you would want to work with. You kind of are shifting your own feeling of being in control in the situation. So as part of your preparation, think about that concept. And you should always go into interviews completely prepared, having researched the company and the role that you're applying for. If you cannot articulate why you want to work with the company or why you want the specific role that you're applying for, the hiring manager is not going to be able to figure out why you would be the best fit against all other candidates. Rehearse your answers. It's okay to do practice on what you're going to say. Rehearse it by recording it on your iPhone, having somebody sit across from you or do a Zoom with you and give you feedback about what you're saying so you know what's going to come out of your mouth when you get asked pretty basic questions like what are your strengths and weaknesses. You can always have answers sort of pre-prepared for those types of situations. I would also suggest, just to kind of take the pressure off, be authentic and genuine. You really are going to differentiate yourself this way by just being you. So if you wear hot pink shirts and that's your style and you like crazy earrings, do those things in your interview, obviously in a very professional, clean sort of way. But if that's your personality, let it show. If you don't get a job because of your personality, then you probably didn't want to work with that firm anyway. I know I'm getting a lot of questions right now from candidates as they're looking to apply for jobs about how to be different or be noticeable in the hiring process. So think about how you can be different. Don't ask the same questions as every candidate. Make your resume look different, right? Even visually, change the colors. Don't follow the standard format. Maybe you have a really unique follow-up, which, by the way, 100% of the time you should follow up from your interviews. It's the number one thing that will set you apart from candidates without having to do anything really crazy. But maybe your follow-up is a beautiful handwritten note. Maybe you send a video message thanking them for their time. I have a follow-up as a part of my recruiting process when I'm trying to get in front of a prospect where I send them a picture on LinkedIn of the Monopoly shoe because part of my message is about Monopoly, not important. But I say with the shoe, just trying to get my foot in the door. And it's silly and it's so extra, if you will, and yet it gets a response because it's different than what other recruiters are doing. So think about yourself and your brand that way as you're going out to interview and being really different from those that are interviewing also for that same position. It's going to help set you apart, especially in this sort of crazy environment that we're heading into of a lot of competition with positions. So I know most interviews are going to take place via Zoom. They might be virtual for a long time. So if you're going to interview on camera, make sure you test the equipment ahead of time. Make sure you check your background. You don't have any crazy people walking through your background at any given point in time, and show up early so that you are going to be able to avoid any issues you run into in terms of technology. Smile a lot. Use the fact that because you have video and this doesn't just have to be phone, that you can get your body language into the conversation, and that's 55% of your communication. So there's a few tips I hope are helpful for you as you are interviewing for jobs, and feel free to reach out if you have questions. You can find me on LinkedIn. Again, it's Alanah Phillips with Lincoln Financial Network, and good luck in your searching.